What is up, everybody? And welcome into another episode of Trust the Tape. My name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
And I, of course, am with Super Bowl winner Bryan Broaddus and former Cowboy scout and the founder of Crown Global Media, which you should follow on YouTube to see what Bryan's up to. You know what I'm talking about? Sunk a lot of resources into this thing. I've seen it. It's a clean operation. It's wonderful content. Crown Global Media for your Cowboys and draft needs as well as being here, of course. Hello and good morning to Bryan Broaddus.
Hey, Brian.
Good morning, Jeffrey.
So that game last night, would you say it was the hot dog or the bun?
Now this is a hot dog bun.
I think it's a hot dog too.
I think it had some bun elements to it. I think it had some bun elements. Didn't hold up well. Kind of was a little bit satisfying at times, but at the end was just kind of disintegrating and not a very good vessel. So I'd say it was very bunnish.
And so now we have reached where you, the person who takes in Trust the Tape, things are up to you. We can spend time here talking about the Cowboys and the Lions, and we probably will and probably should. It also is very likely, the end of the season in terms of trying to make the playoffs. Not totally, but very likely. And they are not going to stop trying to win games. They may win the rest of them, and they may get very lucky. But it's likely over. And I see you guys on the internet when the result of that game happened. People started sending me my ice tank. Okay? And so we can read the tea leaves. How much do you want Cowboys-Lions? And how much are we into draft talk? I like to shout out somebody who super chatted before the show even started. His name's William. He said, after watching the game, why do the Cowboys almost always run on second and long? This is Jeff Cavanaugh's least favorite thing in football. First and 10 incompletion, second and 10 run for 2 yards. And I'm like, why are you going to third and long on purpose? And I don't know the answer to why teams do it. It drives me bonkers. And I don't know. And a lot of teams
they try and make it manageable, but in actuality, it creates maybe some more problems. There's some teams that actually can get a second down run. Sometimes, but it doesn't happen a lot. But yeah, coaches are trying to make it third and they're trying to surprise you. Let's pop a run here and see if it works out. But yeah.
So we will leave it a little bit up to the audience in terms of what you want. Obviously, this does become, it's called Trust the Tape, and that was named as a draft show, basically. But you watch tape on the regular season and the playoffs as well. You watch tape on your pro football team. But Trust the Tape is indeed a Cowboys and NFL draft show. And if we ain't there, we're close. And we can use the Detroit Lion game, I think, as a springboard to draft talk because they win a couple of games against a good team. And I'll just speak for me. You're looking at them and you're like, okay, I've had Quinnen Williams on this team for three games now before this one. And instead of being the worst defense ever outside of the Bengals of this year, also the two worst defenses ever, now they had been, depending on how you like to grade it, about the 17th best defense in football for 3 weeks. You say, okay, well, that formula could work for this team. If you have one of the best offenses in the league and a middle-of-the-road defense, that could work for this team. Yeah. But it was too late. One slip up and you're dead. And the slip up happens. But just watching their performance in that game, it swung me straight back to, I don't care if they made it in. Eventually, this defense was going to kill you. They are able to limit everybody running the ball because that's where all their resources are. Like they're able to contain you. If you want to just smash the ball forward, the Cowboys are able to contain you. You start throwing the ball, boy, and this thing is sunk. And, I just swung all the way back over from, okay, they got something they're building here. Maybe Flus is okay. One game, I swung all the way back over to, well, we're short 6 players and we got to fire the DC. What do you think about that?
I'd say it's a pretty violent swing.
I mean, it was so bad. It's so bad.
They really, it's interesting how they played that game last night. I thought the tackling was particularly poor. I think that they allowed themselves to get blocked at times, which is not a good way of going about it. They don't create enough pressure, or they don't get sacks. They lack that. They lack that type of that finisher is what they don't have. They're playing with a young corner that right now he's had moments where he's been really good, and I'm talking about Ravel. He's been really good. You kind of get a feel that he's picking it up, and then he has a game last night where it looks like he really, he met his match last night, with Williams and then St. Brown, and the way that they attacked. Bland wasn't particularly good. The safety play has been really not good all year, and you've seen that. The linebackers weren't particularly good. I don't think that Overshone is shown nearly what he was in the past. I kind of felt like, yeah, he's coming off the injury. He's trying to play. There were times where he was pinned inside on plays, or taken care of when they needed to take care of him. I didn't think that Oso Digizua was pretty good. There were times where, he was trying to go make a play and he just got washed down completely inside. They didn't have any stoutness to their defense, I didn't think. Really, the Lions didn't have to run the ball. I think that they felt like they could probably pass the ball and be just as effective with the way that they were doing things. The Lions are such a run after catch team. We saw that last night. They just one of the biggest concerns I think you and I had going into the game was their back's ability to catch the football. We saw it on display. Dallas is just such a problem to have to try and deal with flat receivers, and I mean flat like in the flat receivers. It's just a problem. They can't get their corners, they can't get their safeties, and they can't get their linebackers in place fast enough to do that, to be really good at it. So, it is something that, like I said, that if you're just going to have to, when you got guys like Bland not playing particularly well, and listen, you could talk about Ravel all you want. They went after Bland in this game too. I think he ended up giving up like 80. I think the targets were, I think he had 4 or 5 catches against him for like almost 100 yards. And that's an all-pro player for you, or at one time was an all-pro player. And I never understood putting Bell in coverage on anybody that can really, really, really run. And people say, well, Bell's one of your fastest guys. Well, he might be one of your fastest guys in T-shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
In pads, he's not. He doesn't have that ability to go run with with a guy like Williams. And it happened a couple of times. I mean, they found him twice, 2 for 2 on routes. I think it was 42, 43 yards. I went and looked it up, but it looked bad on tape. And so, you defensively, you've made some improvements with your interior of players you've added. But some of the guys that you kind of thought were going to really help you, like a guy like Bland, a guy like Overshone, really, just hasn't really worked out so far.
And now for the next month and change, how important do you think it is what DeMarvion Overshone puts on tape? Because
I think it's really important. It's really important. Yeah, I really do. And I know what you're going to, Eric, because we're starting to look at college linebackers. We're starting to look at, and with whether it's you're talking about, I know we've mentioned guys like with Styles and stuff like that.
It's my guy, baby.
CJ Allen from Georgia.
It's Dane Brugler's guy, baby.
Yeah, Reese is a guy that you probably won't see. Well, if you lose some games. I mean, you lose all these games, you might be in that range, but you're looking at that kind of, if you're looking at linebackers, and I know myself, I've looked at 3 of them. You could potentially look into some cornerbacks right now too. It looks like to me that's kind of a little bit of the 4 I've done. I kind of feel all got first round ability. Defensive tackle. I know that's probably not something that people are looking at, but it seems like there's some some guys there. So yeah, it's edge rushers, another group that looks like it's got a little bit of depth to it. So
You
yeah,
probably need one.
yeah, and it just shows you how big of a loss Clowney was last night. I think though, Clowney's ability, Clowney gives you some stability, gave you some pass rush, gave you some edge set. They had to move Ezra around. Sam Williams tried, it just hasn't been all that great. And you, like you say, you watch the tape and you see some guys kind of get taken care of. You knew that Detroit was going to get into that jumbo formation, and there was going to be some things that you were going to have to deal with. I was impressed with the way Dallas got after Goff early in that football game. Matter of fact, one of the big plays that they had, I mean, they had a situation where, the guard, they had to replace a guard because of all the pressures. You were generating some pressure, and they took the guard out, put Frazier in, and the next thing you know, it kind of gave them some stability, at the guard spot. So yeah, it's that part of it. That part of it defensively was really, really, really tough for you.
We got a little super chat here from is that Taha Ahmed? Game showed how harmful poor special team units can be. Boy, it was kind of exhausting starting every defensive drive beyond the 40-yard line.
Yeah, there was a couple of times where one of the returns, Houston, he jumps the gap. Houston, like you're kind of thinking like go down the field, and usually on kick coverage, if somebody jumps a gap or jumps out of place, it always seems like the ball goes right there. And he jumps a gap, so now you get Bell and then Goodwin, and those guys get knocked down inside. So all of a sudden, you're like, now you've got a natural lane inside. And then there was another time where they ran Lipke and Leofau. They're running a stunt basically on the kickoff coverage, where they're going Lipke and Leofau are replacing James and Clark. So you got 2 inside, 2 outside. What happens? They split the gap is what they do. They get the kick inside, they get the kick outside, and now the ball is right there where they ran the actual stunt. They're trying to confuse Detroit's blockers, and in fact, it just ends up to be a big play. And then you get a situation on the last one where they kick Stewart, they kick him, they pin Davis, Hunter Lipke, they pin Davis, and now it's another gap, and the ball's just going right at that gap. And so, yeah, it's pretty simple, that, if you're going to run scheme or try to confuse or muddy the blocking scheme, make sure you don't get blocked. And that happened a couple different times for them.
Jotman is in the super chat. Jotman, draft season, baby. Draft all the Ohio State players. I would be happy with, I said this on Twitter a couple weeks ago, the worst position value draft of all time. I guess you could draft like a kicker or a punter, but safety and linebacker are lower value based on how much money they make in the NFL positions. But yeah, watching the Ohio State defense, if you ended up with an Ohio State safety and an Ohio State linebacker in the first round, I tell you what, I would be happy.
They got a really good one technique named McDonald.
That tends to happen when your linebackers are great. Yeah, there's probably good players in front of them.
Yeah, they got a kid named McDonald that's pretty special, and he probably won't end up in Dallas, but boy, I'll tell you what, you'll hear his name. He'll be picked, and he'll be a really good player for somebody on a Sunday and a Monday and a Thursday sometimes.
Somebody said something in the chat about Turpin, and I got to tell you, we were doing a watch along, so we were live the whole time, and I got pretty mad at Turpin too. If you're a returner,
run the darkness.
What are we doing with the fair catch takeoff running thing, dude?
Oh yeah,
you did it again, and and what's he then yelling at the ref about? I'm like, what are you talking about? You did this.
Puts his hand up a lot.
Started to run, and you're like, well, I guess I shouldn't because that guy's not trying to touch. And you start to run again, your job, your primary job, and your only job in the NFL, really, he'll never be an actual receiver, is to do that. And how do you not know how it works?
Well, could this be the problem, Jeff? The fact he now fancies himself as a receiver.
Well, you're not. Okay. Illinois went for 100,
I'm just saying that Turpin now fancies himself as a receiver. So it's affected. I mean, I think his kickoff returns have been, I don't think they've been
half-ass.
very, I don't think they've been good at all. It's kind of like that violent running style that he had of hitting holes and, getting up in there and making it happen. I don't see that with him. I see him running into darkness, not running. And I wonder if it's because he views himself as a receiver now, that he's thinking like, well, I need to keep myself in one piece here so I can help the team play receiver. Just asking, not trying to.
I don't think
he's not running with the same violence and cutting ability that he once ran with.
Yeah,
that we saw like in the Commanders game. Last year we saw that ability to spin to make happen, and we just haven't seen that from him.
Well, it fits in great with the theme of the Cowboys this year. Pretty much everybody that they just paid is not playing up to what you would like to see them play up to.
Makes sense.
That's a lot of fun. All right, Brian, I would like to shout out for a second, if you wouldn't mind, our friends at Underdog Fantasy. We appreciate them being a part of the broadcast, okay? You need the promo code TAPE so that you can get the hookup with our friends at Underdog Fantasy, because we still got football going, okay? Best place to get in on the action, Underdog. Download that app. Head over there. Get in on it, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, whatever sport. Underdog's the best place to get in on that action. And it's easy to do. All you got to do is pick whether your favorite player is going to go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, catches, touchdowns, and more. I've been on a pretty good heater saying more on Dak Prescott. I tell you that. Passing yards, do that. Touchdowns, touchdowns might not have got it that time. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash, which is real nice. So just download the app, okay? Underdog. Get the app downloaded. I like to do some hating on the Eagles most weeks too. I just go to Jalen Hurts, less Saquon, less. That's if you want to do it the way I do it, which is just straight hating. Sometimes I homer it up, and sometimes I try to make my smart picks. I like to mix it up on Underdog. But they are our friends, and they are a sponsor of the program. Go to Underdog, download that app, sign up with the promo code TAPE, T-A-P-E. You get $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code TAPE. Underdog, make picks, win money. Thanks, Underdog. You're my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, guys.
I love action. I love knowing that if I wouldn't care about a game between two bad teams till I get on my Underdog and I start making some picks. Now I'm locked in. Get that backup running back in, baby. I need him to get 9 yards. I just need 9. Last night, one of our guys was losing his mind, our GM Ben, because Dak rolled out and ran. And he was like, I just need 10. And Dak ran for 11 yards. Bang. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to draft season, everybody. Josh is in the super chat. It feels like our defensive scheme is poor or inconsistent, and our offensive scheme can't travel. Good foundation to build on for next year. Now, with their defense, I have a Bryan Broaddus question. Sometimes I feel like I need to go to people smarter than me. When the Cowboys do something with a motion, with a formation, with a whatever, and find a matchup that they like, I go, good job.
Yeah.
When the defense ends up in a matchup I don't like, I get mad at Eberflus.
Yeah.
Am I being unfair, or is it hard in the NFL to be like, well, with them condensing formations and moving around, like I'm not always going to get exactly who I want, exactly where I want, or am I okay to be mad at Flus?
Oh, you could be mad at Flus. Yes. I think that you honestly, I think you played the last 2 weeks, and maybe this sounds crazy. I think Detroit's offense is better than what Kansas City and what Philadelphia's rolling out there right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that's a problem. Detroit's offense is a problem.
Yeah.
With those running backs, the offensive line got compromised, and they did a nice job blocking you yesterday. Yeah, that's the most. I think that's the most disappointing thing, is that there were early pressures, early times where you saw them getting after Goff, and he was throwing the ball on the ground and getting rid of it and trying not to, and and you just couldn't continue that. And I hate it when I watch film of a team, and I used to do this for a living when I was in pro personnel, watch a team and try and figure out who to attack on that group. And I hate it when they don't try to. I hate it when they don't, they go away from that, and but yeah, I think they went up against an offense last night that was clearly better than the last 3 offenses they've played, for sure. When you start to talk about the Raiders, the Eagles, and then as far as explosive plays,
Yeah.
Dallas didn't have a great answer for it. I mean, we could talk about the run stuff, but really they didn't have to run the ball. They just they blocked you up front, and they got the ball out, and you couldn't tackle, you couldn't cover, you couldn't really sustain any pressure. So this offense made you look pretty silly at times. A 35-yard run, got everybody, get everybody blocked. You got guys getting knocked.
Kenneth Murray does a great job of jumping out of the hole. He's real good at that.
Yeah, well, Oso Diggies wasn't much better on the play either.
Okay.
Man, they had, and Ravel missed the tackle, and here we go. It's a 35-yard run for a touchdown. But yeah, I think that you could get mad, because how can we sit here and just kind of pour through watching a game and say, that's the guy you go after. That's the guy that and teams have kind of said, well, Bland, that's a guy you go after a little bit. Teams aren't scared of throwing the ball at Bland anymore.
No, and
they really aren't.
That's really disappointing.
That is disappointing, but we talk about with Flus, and we give him we kick him in the ass, and then we give him credit when he starts to get better players. But you also got to the matchup against Detroit. It didn't look right. I mean, it did not look right last night. I mean, you matched up well against Philly. You did a good job against Kansas City, but this was a whole different beast on offense.
Well, and I think it's always,
especially with St. Brown being out there.
Yeah, but I think it's always a little bit weird, because the same thing I think happened with Trayvon Diggs and with Deron Bland, where I feel like if you watch them every snap of every game of their career, I think it's hard. A lot of people don't like this because it's viewed as being a hater or being negative. Yeah. Both of them have been an all-pro because of interceptions.
Because of interceptions, turnovers.
Neither one of them, when you show up on a Sunday, does a team think that guy can cover my number 1 receiver, right?
That's fair.
Diggs was very much a opportunistic, and the fact that he can really play the ball in the air and he can catch, and that led to a couple of years of a lot of interceptions. People weren't scared of him. And Deron Bland had an incredible year. I think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year, because you can't be more impactful as a defensive player than scoring a ton of touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
But he was never a guy that NFL teams showed up on Sunday, and if he was on your number 1, was like, ooh, I don't know. They're not scared of him.
No, really not.
A big part of it was the pass rush. And so I think both of those guys are like, okay, that's a starting NFL corner. And when it's time to cut the check, the Cowboys cut the checks, because the player and the agent understand the same thing. You're offering me good NFL, towards the top of the market corner money. I'll take it, because I'm not Surtain. I'm not whoever. And and it's, I don't want to go back to that, but it ties back to there's a reason the Cowboys paid the guys they did when they did. Jake Ferguson is really happy to be a really well-paid NFL tight end.
Sure
thrilled. Is. Deron Bland is thrilled to be a really well-paid NFL cornerback. They're thrilled.
Sure.
And those of you who pay attention, I think, can see the cycle of why those guys got paid when they did. And when you get disappointed by players like that, that is the Cowboys. It's how they do things. When they are having trouble signing a certain player, when they get mad at somebody else, they turn around, and that's what they do. Yeah. And so when you end up with those not being good contracts, it's disappointing, but it's really kind of the Cowboy way. It's kind of what they do. Richard wanted to know about the kick coverage. And if you rewind about 8 to 10 minutes in here, Bryan Broaddus did cover that. So we do appreciate you. But yeah, the Cowboys kick coverage was not good. And Brian walked you through some of the reasoning behind that. Jay Beltran is in the super chat. Is R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma a good option for the Cowboys this upcoming draft? This reminds me of last night in the postgame.
Yeah.
Botch Lombardi said, Jeff, you know how fast we got to get going on this draft? Because as soon as you start talking draft, people want to know about
you brought
players.
You brought it
I have
up.
not seen R. Mason Thomas.
No, I haven't either. I think the last number I have is 36. So I've watched 36. And so, about to get on it a little bit. 14 first-round grades. I haven't looked at a quarterback yet, by the way. 18 second-round grades, 4 third-round grades so far of my guys that I've done.
Can I ask you a random one?
Sure.
Dane Brugler already put out a mock draft. Cowboys, C.J. Allen, Georgia linebacker. Where do you have him?
Yeah, I have him in the second round.
Okay.
If you'd like for me to do a little work here.
I mean, I can hit you with the quickest scouting report ever.
Yeah, you haven't seen him?
No, I watched C.J. Allen.
Oh, did you?
I think he's good. Like it's interesting when you go from watching the guys who are freaks to the guy who is like, oh, he's good at that job. So like he's the leader of the Georgia defense, and I appreciate that Dane includes coaches, scouts, all of those guys with CJ Allen are going to be like raving, like that's the heartbeat of the team, signal caller, gets everybody lined up, and he's a good player. Like he's a good downhill player, he's a good tackler, he's a good run player. I've seen flashes of good coverage. I don't have the notes in front of me, but I know there was a play where he was man on a tight end, and the guy hit him with like a whoop, 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 and he was able to physically just and make a play on the ball. I don't think he has like the overwhelming physical traits. I think, 6'1", 245 or whatever. And I had just finished
exactly.
I just finished watching 6'4", 240-something pound freak athletes. And so with CJ Allen, I'm like, oh man, I miss my freak athletes. He's a good linebacker.
I wouldn't put him in coverage with many twitchy guys. That's kind of the thing that I saw. I think you're absolutely right about him. There's some like the change of direction stuff could be the misdirection plays, stuff like that. I think that could give him a little bit of a problem. I think he relies more on power than he does anything. But man, you could see a guy that has a burst. You could see him run down a play in space. You can see him reading the keys. He'll play downhill, square up a ball carrier. These are all things in my notes, but I think the coverage aspect of him is that would be something that would probably worry me a little more, because you do see him kind of struggle to stay in phase with those more athletic targets. I think that's going to be a problem for him.
Look at that. How about a scouting report on Trust the Tape? If that don't mean it's draft season, I don't know what does. Josh is in the super chat. Outside of our not traveling, it also appears our first 15 plays don't produce. Hence us always having to play from behind early. Am I wrong? I do feel like they're down early a lot. And on the whole, I don't have like big Schottenheimer complaints. I think I like the where they put this offense. I love the way, and I know it's going to say 1 touchdown, 2 picks. I love the way Dak played again. Like I think just how consistently he's putting the ball where it needs to be, accurate deliveries, manipulating the pocket. I love the way that dude is playing. I don't have big Schottenheimer complaints, but they do still start slow a lot, and I don't like that.
Yeah, Detroit was a team too that wasn't very good on first drives of games. They were, I think, 31st in the league when it came to playing defense. And I will say this about Dak, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. I wish he'd have had the throw back to Lamb down the left sideline there, that the ball went out of bounds instead of staying in bounds.
Yeah,
because there was a couple of times there. I'm curious, and I know we haven't talked about George Pickens here 30 minutes into the show.
I was going to let you make it, Brian. I was just going to let you make it.
No, I the thing about with George, I agree with Jesse Holly. And if you really, really, really study George Pickens, he is not naturally a great route runner. And he plays that pace, and I know that the folks last night at Prime or they showed you, well, it looks like he's not hustling. It looks like if you really study George Pickens, there's a lot of routes where he's not doing exactly what he needs to do. If you look at the play there's like some slants that he ran there where it was more like up and then just across.
Yeah.
It wasn't even really a real slant.
Oh, he's running
If you watch, if you watch George Pickens run routes, you see a lot of them where you're going, wow, that's not run with a lot of effort. That one's not run with a lot of effort. That's kind of how he plays. I mean, you could watch him. He is not one of these guys. And there are a couple of times where he and Lamb ended up like in the same spot. And, you kind of wonder, does he just playing playground or on field or that kind of stuff? And you wonder how that kind of all works out. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, did he look engaged? There was some times where, like it just didn't look like George Pickens attacking the ball. That's the thing that kind of bothered me in this game.
That was the one. Letting the slant get into his body led to a pick. Like the
I don't. That was the
corner. That's all day.
That's the route that kind of went inside. That wasn't even really a slant. He just kind of runs up and then in, and Dak, it allows the corner. But if you watch him play overall, he is not a great route runner, and he's not a guy that plays at that kind of tempo where he keeps coming off the ball. There are times where he just that's just how he plays.
Yeah.
But I wonder, Jeff, on the ball that's deep, that it looked bad because he didn't make a play on it or try to make a play on it. I don't think he saw the ball. And George Pickens' strength to me is being able to track the ball, but he takes an outside release and then kind of breaks back inside. And I think he's looking at the safety to see where the safety is. And maybe he didn't look up and find the ball, because that seemed like a play that George Pickens would go make. But I think his vision, he kind of nods it on the outside, and then he comes back and he's looking for Maddox. And there was a couple of times too, with some of the routes that they had where you could tell he was kind of looking at defenders where they were. So, but by the way, too, when you get through the tape, you're going to see that once Lamb went out of the game, they started doubling him in the game. They started taking the safety and putting it over, and then they would buzz the linebacker in the flat to try on third downs to try and keep them from running the slant. So they were working on him. They were working on him.
Shout out to the best receiver on the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, one of the finest receivers in all the land. Just shout out to him today.
Somebody feels good about that.
Just shout out to him today. CC Black, thank you for being in the super chat. And thank you to everybody for watching another episode of Trust the Tape. No, we didn't get the result we wanted, but we'll keep talking Cowboys football. They've still technically got a chance, and we're cruising on into NFL draft world. Thank you, Bryan. Have a great day.
Do the same, sir. Thank you.
Everybody, make sure you're following Crown Global Media on YouTube. Support Bryan Broaddus, Vach Lombardi, and all of our friends. Get the best Cowboys content that there is. Also, I'll catch you here in a little bit on the DLS Cowboys podcast, which is another incredible product for you. Remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through. Be cool to everybody. We love you. Be easy.